Right, we continue our breaking news at this hour. The NTSB says now one person has died in the Southwest flight engine failure incident. That plane, Flight 1380, was forced to make an emergency landing in Philadelphia a few short hours ago. We now have some video from inside the plane as it dropped 20,000 feet in a matter of minutes. Oxygen masks you can see dangling from the ceiling. A passenger says that shortly after takeoff, they heard a loud explosion on the plane's left side and then saw a piece of shrapnel come through a window. Listen now to the chilling air traffic control conversation with the pilot who said someone went out the plane's window.
Southwest 1380, start turning southbound there. There's a Southwest 737 on a 4-mile final. Will be turning southbound. Start looking for the airport. It's off to your right and slightly behind you there. And altitude is your discretion. Use caution for the downtown area. Advise you to maintain at above 2,200 for the MVA.
Okay, could you have the medical meet us there on the runway as well? We've got injured passengers.
Injured passengers, okay. And is your airplane physically on fire?
Not fire, but part of it's missing. They said there was a hole and someone went out.
I'm sorry, you said there was a hole and somebody went out? Southwest 1380, it doesn't matter. We'll work it out there.
You can hear the surprise in the communications people in their voice there. That flight, 1380, on Southwest, it was headed from New York's LaGuardia Airport to Dallas, but then look at the flight path. It had to divert to Philadelphia after it declared an emergency. Someone on board the flight tells us the pilot's quick thinking got the plane on the ground safely.
All of a sudden, we just heard this loud bang, rattling, and then felt like one of the engines went out. The oxygen mask dropped, and then flight attendants did a good job. The pilot came on and said, we're diverting to Philadelphia, and, there wasn't a serious medical injury. I don't know much about that, but I was sitting in the front with a couple of passengers, and we just got the mask on, and as soon as we landed, we were thankful. The pilots did a great job. The crew did a great job. Got us down in Philly, and then that's when I took the photo of the engine, and it appeared that it just shredded the left side engine completely. So we were coming down. We dropped probably from 30,000 feet to 25,000 feet. And then the pilot just kind of regained control and brought it down safely to Philadelphia.
Presence of mind to be able to land that, and great training. Our correspondent Polo Sandoval is live there at the Philadelphia International Airport, where I imagine it was quite a scene. Are things back to normal in terms of airport operations at this point, Polo?
They are, Michaela. The runway in which that damaged airplane landed on has since reopened. In fact, the plane, you may be able to make it off way out in the distance, the red tail. From our vantage point, you can see that plane on which some of those terrorizing moments were lived by some of these passengers and those 5 crew. And as you mentioned, presence of mind, but also, as emergency officials here on the ground have described it, an amazing job that they were able to essentially land this plane safely with fairly limited loss of life. Sadly, of course, we do have those that confirmation now from authorities that one of those 143 passengers passed away. We do not know yet, though, the circumstances. Authorities have not revealed that, do not know the circumstances or the exact cause of death, and we also don't know if that was the same person that was reportedly at least partially ejected because of that the debris that struck that window, leaving that hole in that fuselage. But of course, all of the passengers did make it onto the ground after that landing here, after they were able to be evacuated. But again, we do know that at least one of those, really one of those people did not survive. But when you look at the flight path, you really do get a better understanding of just how intense some of these moments were. Shortly after 10:30 this morning, it was when this Boeing 737 left New York LaGuardia's airport. And according to authorities, at about 11:15 a.m., that's when that emergency was called into air traffic control. 11:27 a.m., that's when that plane was wheels down here in Philadelphia. Do the math, Michaela, that's 13 minutes or so. You could imagine, must have felt like a lifetime for the passengers who we've been hearing from. The plane descending from 31,000 feet to close to 10,000 feet in only about 5 minutes. Of course, that is, according to several aviation experts, regular or at least standard procedure when they're trying to get the plane as low as they can, as fast as possible, to allow some of those passengers to breathe because of the rapid depressurization. So what comes next? Officials and investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board are headed here. They should be landing any minute now, or at least arriving any minute now. We do know that the flights, the data, and the voice recorders have already been secured. Those will be headed back to Washington, D.C. for NTSB to actually analyze as they try to find out, exactly what went wrong just a few minutes into this New York flight that was headed to Texas.
What about those passengers? I know, obviously, they want to talk to them, but have they been allowed to go home to make their way? Crisis counselors, I know, are on their way there to help them. This is a traumatizing event for these people.
Yeah, 142 passengers who currently are speaking to authorities. We do know that some of them had to be treated for minor injuries here, but none of them required hospitalization. They are actually speaking to federal investigators right now, the FBI, which is standard procedure. We have to make that clear. That is standard procedure anytime one of these air incidents takes place. So they obviously have to be interviewed by some of these investigators before they're allowed to work with the airlines to try to make it to their final destinations, Michaela.
Okay. Paula Sandoval reporting there from the Philadelphia airport. Thank you so much for the update.